Surprise Care Bears, I am back with another video and I did it in less than 24 hours. So I'm going to keep doing this format. The reason why for this particular video I decided to do this is because I feel like this is a very simple message, but that needs to be shared with the masses. Because a lot of people I feel go back and forth with what to do or what not to do, with to block or to not block, or to unblock. So tonight I want to discuss how I did one of the best things for myself 6 months ago. And that was that I decided, it was a conscious decision, to unblock every single troll, every single naysayer, every single discourager, every single name caller, every single bully that I had on my Instagram platform. I did this 6 months ago. And it was one of the best decisions I made. I know it doesn't sound like, oh, but that's not a big problem. Like there's bigger fish to fry in the world. But believe me when I tell you that every single issue that arises for you in your personal hologram and your personal reality generally points to a trauma that's been left unattended, that's been left unresolved, and that is historical, meaning it's been with you your entire life. And so for me, because I have a history of psychiatric wards and people trying to control me and controlling me in the past, I have fought my whole life to get people off of me. I felt like ever since I was young, there were all these piranhas. And by piranhas, I don't necessarily mean, or I'm not referring to humans themselves, but energies. I feel like there was a bounty on me my whole life. And I was born an indigo child, and indigo childs are here to create these earthquakes of changes for the people around them, and that was me. It's just how I'm genetically wired. But my whole life, I felt like everyone was always poking their nose in my business, or trying to control me, or throw me in loony bins. And so, undoubtedly so, there was trauma that was deposited in my body from that. I mean, it's very traumatizing when you're sensitive in the world and people are doing that to you. So even though it seems teeny weeny that I unblocked everyone on my social media 6 months ago, it was probably one of the best decisions I made because I was now ready to drop all of my stories. Because the bullies on my social media were reminiscent of all the control systems that were controlling me at the time. So it really gave rise to that part of me that was like, get off me, like stop trying to control me. So I want to ask you tonight if there's anything that you can investigate within yourself that you're still perpetuating, that if you were willing to release yourself from, or to drop that story altogether that corresponds to your past, what would stretch you outside of where you currently are? What would challenge you to outdo yourself, to overcome these obstacles, to shine a light on these dark corners within your internal home? So the way that I used to justify it was, well, my platform, YouTube, Instagram, it's my creation. So I'm not sharing to impose my ways on people. It's a platform where I get to express myself. And so the way I used to view bullies was, if I'm inviting you into my home, which is really just my platform that I'm not trying to change, like it's my authentic expression, then don't walk into my home with your dirty shoes. Or another metaphor is, if I make or prepare a meal for you, then don't say it's disgusting. So I used to justify it because blocking to me was an act of self-love, which it was. So I don't want to invalidate you or your experience if you still have people on your block list, because it is an act of self-love to block people. See, the thing about this multidimensional universe is that everything is true based on where you're at in life. So I wasn't ready to drop that story of who picked on me in the past. So it was an act of self-love to block people. It was my way of saying I will not tolerate anything less than honor and respect and decency. But you can always tell when you're stuck in a rut. You can always tell when you've been parked too long. You can always tell based on how people successfully push your buttons. And by the way, I'm grateful to every single troll that I've had, to every single person who threw daggers at me. I'm grateful to every single one of them. Because the universe never fails to show us what is in our blind spot that we're still ignoring or overlooking or avoiding. So social media is a gift from that perspective. That's why I'm saying it might be teeny weeny that I unblock people, but it's so much deeper because I approach everything with depth in my life, with acute awareness, with a sense of being in touch with my emotional structure. So I know when I'm resisting a lesson. And it became very clear to me 6 months ago or so that I was refusing to change. I was digging my heels in, refusing to change. And the universe was like, hey, if you can't deal with haters, then you're not going to be able to handle what I have in store for you, what the universe has in store for me. In other words, there's a lesson right now that you need to attend to, that you need to graduate from, because if you can't handle criticism from complete strangers on social media, what are you going to do when there's a gossip column about you out there in the world? There's no way I would have been able to handle that. And I'm just using that shallow example just to kind of drive the point home. Every single trigger you're confronted with in your everyday life, because for me, the trolls were every day. By the way, sidebar, I don't even notice them anymore. I don't. They're probably there, but I'm not in vibrational accord with that anymore. Meaning you're always going to be a vibrational match to what it is that you're still resisting. And what you resist persists. So the reason why I'm so grateful for all the haters is because they were pointing me, meaning the universe through them. They weren't kind, they weren't well-intended, they weren't loving, but everything is love, meaning the universe is always pointing you in the direction of those dark corners that you have to shine a light on within your internal home. So I'm grateful to those people because they showed me that I still had a trauma that was centralized around people wanting to usurp my free will or wanting to tread on my free will or trying to overpower or dominate me. And what I realized was that when they treat me poorly, they're not actually entering my home with their dirty feet, or they're not saying that my meal is disgusting. They're actually entering their own illusion of what they're still projecting. They're simply entering their own illusion of what they're still projecting, and it has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. And yet everything to do with me, because it's something I needed to heal. But that was the conscious realization, the aha moment that I had, the revelation that I had. And this is something else I want to say to you. You will never, ever, ever have control over the exterior realm, over your external world. You'll never have control over that, meaning you won't be able to control the weather. You won't be able to control traffic jams, but you'll always have control over yourself and how you respond to this uncontrollable world, meaning other people are not controllable. That's the whole point. We're seeing that this is a free will universe. So those trolls have a free will to disrespect me or to berate me. They have a free will. I don't have control over that. But what we do have control over is, okay, I'm in a traffic jam right now. What am I going to do with this time? I can meditate. I can do breath work. I can blast some Jasmine Sullivan or some Yeba Smith. I can do things to enjoy this present moment that's being given to me. Or if it rains, am I going to shout and scream, complain? Or am I going to take a day to myself to do some journaling? Yes? So everything is a choice, my friends. And you'll always know that you have to confront something or address something when it's become redundant. It's become redundant. Like the universe is like, alarm signal, you keep hitting snooze, you keep hitting snooze, you keep hitting snooze. Every person you block, you keep hitting snooze. Or every person you block, you keep playing whack-a-mole. That's the thing. If you keep blocking people, or it could be anything in your life, you react negatively to family members when they bring up certain subjects. You get defensive when people ask you a question. All we're doing is playing whack-a-mole. And as long as you keep looking for that next head that's going to pop up, you're always going to be playing whack-a-mole. So I just want to remind you that the only thing you're in charge of is yourself. And everything is being offered to you as a means to up-level yourself. And if you can't deal with what's showing up now, how are you going to deal with what's coming next? That's the thing. We're constantly placing requests in the universal jukebox. That's what I call it, the universal jukebox. We're like, okay, universe, I want this to arrive. Universe, hey, I want to manifest this. I want to manifest that. I want to manifest everything. But that thing that you're wanting to manifest holds a much higher frequency than what you're dealing with now. So that frequency then has to get you to adapt to it, to realign to it, to readjust your system to it. So you have to go through this process of acclimating to that desire that you have, which holds a higher frequency. We only have desires because it hasn't been experienced yet. We only have desires because something has been left unexperienced. It hasn't been experienced yet. It's a dream that's unrealized. It's a desire that's unfulfilled. That's why we're reaching for it. So you may have a desire to meet a man or a woman who gives you tons of affection, who loves on you, who makes you feel like you're the most important person in the world. You have that desire because maybe you haven't experienced it, or maybe you got a sample of it or a taste of it, and then it was stripped away, and you want more of it. That's a desire because it hasn't been fully fulfilled. So that desire holds a higher frequency because it hasn't been fulfilled yet. So that timeline of what it is that you're wanting is going to work with you within the timeline where you currently find yourself to get you to address these lessons that are calling to you. For me, it was I kept blocking people, thinking it was an act of self-love, which it was, because we don't want to discredit that. But my blocking people was me perpetuating the cycle of I'm being bullied, I'm being bullied, I'm being bullied. I'm sick of people bullying me all the time. I'm not a speed bump. You don't get to drive over me. You don't get to walk into my house with your dirty shoes. You don't get to walk into my house and say that my food that I prepared for you out of love is disgusting. Right? That was a story. And I needed to suspend that story, and I did. I logged out of that reality. I said, this is just consuming me. This is eating away at me. This isn't advancing me. This is keeping me parked, and I need to get my engine up and running again. I need to go to new destinations and new places and new spaces. So the question is to block or to unblock. What I would say is never get complacent. Keep challenging yourself to reach for higher heights, to surprise yourself, to no longer be defined by how people perceive you or misperceive you, for how much shade someone throws on you. It has nothing to do with you, and yet it has everything to do with you. Because there's this scab that you keep picking at. Every time you block, picking at the scab. Or playing whack-a-mole, but those heads are always going to pop up again. You see what I mean? So if you like, we can call this the unblocking challenge. The unblock challenge. I'm sure many of you are not different than me. You have a lot of people on your list that have been blocked. It took me a good half hour to unblock a lot of people. But I promise you, it was the most liberating thing I did. And there's not an inch of me, there's not a drop of me, there's not a freaking inch of me that wants to engage in anything dramatic anymore. Because I chose me over all of that pettiness. And I'm so grateful and thankful to every person that triggered me. Because now I'm not in its grips. Now I'm not governed by these systems. Now I know, and I've reaffirmed and reconfirmed and reinforced within myself that I don't have control over what people do. And I've loosened my structure. I've loosened it. I've opened up my heart. And I'm not going to be categorized or characterized by someone's perception of me anymore. Is this landing for you? So if you don't go the unblocking route, because blocking is as self-loving, because it is, remember, it's all about how you view things in life. So if you're in that place right now where you're like, I demand respect, I'm going to keep blocking. If you're empowering yourself, keep blocking. Because that's what I did. But eventually the universe keeps dialing you up. Your phone keeps ringing. Your cosmic telephone keeps ringing. And the universe is like, yo, are you going to choose something different now? Because I'm trying to transport you to an entirely different reality. And if you can't handle this, there's no way you're going to handle that. So if it's not the blocking thing, what is it that you're still doing that you can examine? Do you still get mad at your parents when they broach subjects that are to your disliking? Do you still try to control your partner, telling them what they should eat or shouldn't eat? Do you still want your significant other to awaken? And you keep beating the drum of them awakening, and it's like that's still control. What stories can you have the willingness to drop and the courage? Because it takes courage to unblock everyone whom you know is probably going to come back around and throw daggers at you again. The difference is you're not going to see them anymore. You're not going to notice them anymore. Why? Because you're not a point of attraction to that anymore. You've outgrown it. You've transcended it. You chose the higher version of you over that lower version of you that was keeping you parked, that was keeping you in that whack-a-mole, that was keeping you picking at your own scab. I think sometimes we underestimate our creational ability, our innate power to birth new worlds, to actualize our highest potential, to realize our most desired dreams, because we stand in our own way. And the universe is unlimited. It wants to give you everything that you desire. But it's not a physical game. Blocking is physical. That's you taking an action that is gratifying to you in that moment. It's just going to cover up those skeletons that you need to deal with. Yes? But the universe wants to give you everything. The universe is the gift that keeps on giving, but you have to be in that receptive mode. And if you're always defending yourself, protecting your page, protecting this so-called identity of yours, then are you in a receptive mode? Or are you still buying into the deceptive mode? People who are deceiving you, you're still believing that story. Are you in the receptive mode, or are you still buying into the deceptive mode? There are higher octaves of who you are, just like a piano. What we want to do is transpose ourselves into that higher note, into that higher octave. We transpose ourselves by disposing of these previous realities, behaviors, patterns that kept us entrenched in that muddy game. Your higher self wants to do so much for you, but we need to get out of its way. We have to stop interrupting that signal. We're like the dam in the river. We have to let it flow through us, for us, so that those universes can be birthed through us, so that new creations can come to life, so that your dreams can be realized and actualized. So if this message helped you and you'd like to contribute, I really appreciate it. I don't expect donations, so please don't feel guilty if you don't donate. Donations are never expected, but they're welcome. My donation link is feelgoodlife.com/donate. feelgoodlife.com/donate. And I think this is one of those videos that we should probably share. Try to share this with people in your life, because I think many people can benefit from this, to block or to unblock, or to not block. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, and you'll always be notified when I go live. I love you.